But first, I know you guys are loving these giveaways, and this time it's going to be the best one yet. I quoted economist Thomas Sowell, who said this, and I'm quoting him. The black family survived centuries of slavery and generations of Jim Crow, but it has disintegrated in the wake of the liberals' expansion of the welfare state. Most black children grew up in homes with two parents during all that time, but most grow up with only one parent today, end of quote. And I wrote, sportscaster Bob Costas, when commenting on the murder-suicide of a black NFL player, called it a case of the gun culture. No, I said it was a case of the fatherless culture. That player, Jovan Belcher, like so many blacks, was raised without a father. Did you notice? When Tyre Nichols was brutally beaten by those 5 Memphis cops, he cried out for his mother, not his father.
Mom! Hey, give me your hands. Give me...
Nichols apparently was raised without a father. Is there a connection between being raised by a father and being more likely to responsibly comply with the police? And is there a connection between being raised by a father and a mother and being less likely to commit crime? Yes, there is. Again, I wrote this 10 years ago. A disproportionate amount of crime comes from homes with an AWOL dad. Today, 72%, 53% of Hispanic and 36% of whites are born out of wedlock. Look at the murder stats from New York City. With its population of 44% whites, 25% blacks, and 29% Hispanics, yet in 2011, get this, blacks and Hispanics accounted for 91% of the homicide suspects. Now, unless we're prepared to say that black and Hispanics are genetically predisposed to commit crime, it is only sensible to ask what the devil is going on here. I once interviewed Kwesi Mfume, then the head of the NAACP. I asked the following question. As between the presence of white racism or the absence of black fathers, which poses the bigger threat to the black community? Without hesitation, Mfume said the absence of black fathers. 2 years ago, I wrote about the then new documentary called The Streets Were My Father, featuring 3 Chicago men, 2 Hispanics, and 1 black, who grew up without fathers. All 3 did hard time for serious offenses, including murder. Denzel Washington, when promoting a film about a criminal defense lawyer, was asked about the supposedly racist criminal justice system. Here's what he said.
Well, it starts in the home. You know, if the father's not in the home, the boy will find the father in the streets. Yeah, I saw it in my generation and every generation before me and everyone since. It starts in the home. You know, if the streets raise you, then the judge becomes your mother and, you know, and prison becomes your home.
And then there's Tupac Shakur.
I know for a fact that had I had a father, had I had someone, and I hate saying this because white people love hearing black people talk about this, but had I had a father, had I had some of these opportunities, I'd have been able to help my mother more. She wouldn't have went the road she went. I could have been a better son. You know what I'm saying? She wouldn't have went that road. It was the absence of my father. You know what I'm saying? I'm dealing with him being daddy not being there. My mother's dealing with him being my man not being there. You know, so many problems in our community that affect everything.
Call Tupac Shakur the black face of white supremacy. Call him an Uncle Tom. And then there's an article in Just the News written by John McGillon called Fatherless Children, Dangerous Cities. Numbers confirm deep roots of urban crime epidemic. End of quote. And he said this. The U.S. is now home to 11 of the top 50 most dangerous cities in the world. All 11, as the piece noted, are governed by Democrat mayors. All 11 have Democrat DAs. Permissive criminal justice policies are widely thought to be large factors in driving such grim steps. But dig a little deeper, he writes, and an even more important cause of the crime epidemic plaguing blue cities comes into sharp focus. Many of these cities are also home to a staggering percentage of single-parent households, the great majority of which are headed by single mothers. The U.S., he writes, has the highest rate of single-parent households in the world. The connection between single-parent households and crime is very strong. Research suggests that children raised in single-parent households experience more physical and psychological problems compared to those raised in two-parent households. There are roughly 74 million children in the U.S. Close to 24 million, or 34% of these children live in a single parent family. Of these, 15 million live in mother-only households. Jack Brewer is a member of the Commission on the Social Status of Black Men and Black Boys. I'm also a member. Brewer noted in a report last year for the America First Policy Institute, that's a public policy think tank founded by Trump administration alumni, 70% of juveniles in state-operated institutions and 85% of youth in prisons now come from fatherless homes. Fatherless children, according to the report, are 6 times more likely to live in poverty and commit criminal acts than children raised in dual-parent households. Detroit, now the world's 19th most dangerous city, is the U.S.'s poorest city, according to the World Population Review. Get this, 72% of the city's families are single-parent families. In Cleveland, also among the 50 worst, most dangerous cities, 73.3% of the city's families are headed by a single parent. In Baltimore, the U.S.'s most dangerous city and 15th most dangerous city in the world, 52.7% of the city's families are single-parent households. Memphis, the world's 18th most dangerous city, 63% of the city's families are headed by a single parent. Now, if crime, incarceration, and poverty rates are driven predominantly by racism, as left-wing anti-racist big city mayors and DAs claim, then crime, poverty, and incarceration rates should be the lowest in these least racist blue cities, which presumably would be the cities that the anti-racists themselves have long controlled. Instead, it is these very blue-dominated anti-racist cities where crime, incarceration, and poverty rates are the highest. Systemic fatherlessness, the numbers continue to show, not systemic racism, is the deep-rooted source of runaway urban crime in the United States. This is Pastor Voddie Baucham.
Because raising children was never intended to be a one-man job. Certainly not a one-woman job. It's not okay. And so we need to watch, fight, and pray for the family. We need to call young men to account. Raise them with a high view of fatherhood. Especially men who do not have fathers, who've been raised with a warped picture, and who've been taught every day of their life that they've lived without a father, that